The Indian government sources have also said that Indo-US relationship is very important to both sides, and Bharat understands the weight of this relationship, and any concerns that were raised by the US were taken very, very seriously. And Bharat is also hoping that this will lead to the court indictment in the Gurpatwant Singh Pannu case also now being waxed off or taken away, going away because of the action that's been taken. Now let's get you more details. According to top government sources, Ajit Doval spoke to all parties concerned in the US and has also assured them. He has given them confidence that all will be done to ensure that anybody trying to sabotage Indo-US equations will be dealt with severely. Now, Ajit Doval constituted a high-level committee in the NSCS and entrusted the job to his trusted officials. Two officers, Deputy NSA Pankaj Singh and former Special Director of CBI Praveen Sinha, were part of this team. They met authorities, took evidence, collected all the information, following which a detailed probe was also conducted. Evidence was then provided to the investigation agencies to find out all the minor details. All evidence was vetted by Ajit Doval himself, and those responsible were identified. Now, Ajit Doval has communicated the same to his counterpart during Jake Sullivan's recent visit to New Delhi. Now, his personal rapport and goodwill with his US counterpart has also ensured that there was not any severe damage to the Indo-US ties. Now, something and some of these concerns spill over from the Biden administration even into the Trump administration, the forthcoming Trump administration. That's what sources tell us. The committee completed investigation after US complaints. The committee said that some vested interests had tried to influence Indo-US relations, and it's been recommended to take action against the people involved. The US in its complaint had informed Bharat about the activities of certain organized criminal groups, terrorist organizations, drug peddlers, and entities who were close to these people. The fear was that these people undermined the security interests of both Bharat and the United States. Now, following this, the high-powered inquiry committee was set up by the Government of India in November 2023. The inquiry committee conducted its own investigation and also pursued leads provided by the United States. It received full cooperation from the US authorities, and the two sides also exchanged visits to further help each other during this probe. The committee further examined a number of officials from different agencies and also scrutinized relevant documents. After a long inquiry, the committee submitted its report to the government and recommended legal action against some individuals. Now, these individuals have criminal links. Antecedents also came to notice during the inquiry, and the inquiry committee has recommended that legal action must be completed expeditiously. The committee has further recommended functional improvements in systems and procedures, along with initiation of steps that could strengthen Bharat's response capability, ensure systematic controls, and coordinated action in dealing with matters such as this. Let's get a move on. The Congress party has moved the Honorable Supreme Court to oppose the petitions challenging the provisions of the Places of Worship Special Provisions Act 1991. The Congress has reportedly moved an intervention application in the public interest litigation or PIL filed by BJP leader and lawyer Ashwini Kumar Upadhyay against the constitutional validity of the act. Now, with this, the Congress has also joined other parties, including Asaduddin Owaisi's AIMIM, in moving the Supreme Court to seek continuation of the act. Now, in its petition, the Congress clarified that the law is necessary to protect the secular nature of the Indian society and warned that changes could endanger the communal harmony of the nation, stating that the Places of Worship Act is essential for communal harmony and cordial relations amongst all communities in the country. The Congress has alleged that Ashwini Upadhyay's plea has been filed with oblique and questionable moves. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author, commentator, and someone who has written extensively about the Places of Worship Act 1991 in his book also, joins us, along with Kamru Chaudhary, political analyst, leans towards the Congress party. My namaste, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, gentlemen. Anand Ranganathan, the Congress's concerns, Congress joins issue on the POW Act 1991.
Good evening. Good evening to my fellow panelists. This was obviously expected because it was Congress that promulgated this evil act. Look, the basic fact of the matter is, to deny to us our temple of divinity, Anand, is to destroy for us our temple of democracy, keeping the most sacred of places away from Indians, not just the Hindus, by the way, because this is a civilizational issue, not a religious one. It is untenable and undemocratic. Ayodhya, Gyanvyapi, Mathura, Bhojshala, Sambhal, the rights of our ancestors being reclaimed is catharsis, as a deliverance of justice. This is not about a particular mosque. This is about a legal claim. And about this POW of Places of Worship Act 1991, that quote, to prohibit conversion of any place of worship and to provide for the maintenance of the religious character of any place of worship as it existed on the 15th day of August 1947. But here is the caveat, and this is what the conceited, lawyers like Dushyant Dave did not mention. The act does not apply to any place of worship which is an ancient and historical monument or an archaeological site or remains covered by the Amara or Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act 1958. But here is the tragedy. A legal recourse to correcting historical injustices cannot be denied in a democracy. Historical injustices, and there are thousands possibly, that are not covered by Amara, can now never be addressed unless Parliament overrides the Place of Worship Act. Quote, no place of worship usurped or built upon another place of worship shall be allowed to be used as one unless its ownership is rightfully settled in the court of law, unquote. Anand, this according to me should be the real Places of Worship Act. As simple as that. Single sentence. And this is not a Hindu issue, by the way. If a mosque had been demolished by a Hindu king and a temple built on it, I, a kafir and a Darwinian atheist for whom Islam sanctions death penalty, would have fought for the rights of Muslims like Kamruji to legally get back their mosque. One hallmark of justice is that it has to be applied universally, because when one goes by logic, morality, first principles, objectivity, as science and law teach one to do, numbers do not matter. 1 or 4 or 40 or 40,000. If the Places of Worship Act did not apply to Ram Lalla's temple, how on earth does it apply to any other temple, any other deity could be as sacred as Ram Lalla? Who is to decide?
Kamru Chaudhary.
Yeah, Anand, basically, that's what you call the power of conviction. When we brought the law, rather the Congress party in 1991, it was convinced that such an act is very important, because 30 years down the line, people like Anand Ranganathan will try to bring out centuries-old disputes in our ancient history or medieval history and try to bring it and correct the historical injustices in 2024, which will bring further divisions within the society. So P.V. Narasimha Rao and his government thought it very right to bring the act in the first place. And why this Places of Worship Act reflects the constitutional values of justice, equality and fraternity by ensuring that religious disputes do not threaten the nation's social fabric. It emphasizes forward-looking governance, focusing on development and unity rather than divisive historical conflicts. And why I say this, you see, like at present, the India as a nation got its independence in 1947. What happened prior to that is a history which we all should be proud of, and we can reflect on that. But are we in a position to correct the 200 years of British rule that did injustice to India? No. Are we able to do what the Mughal invaders did to India? No. Then why are you bringing out those centuries-old disputes into the public domain right now? Are you going to say that the 15% or the 20% of India's minority Muslim population are not an Indian citizen that you can snatch away by majoritarian or by influencing the courts by hook or by crook, or bringing out the loopholes within the law like Mr. Anandji just now mentioned about the Archaeological Act out here? But the essence of the act is to prevent such disputes to recur in the near future. We have seen countless lives being lost during the Ram Mandir agitation, or during recently the 5 people were killed in Sambhal because of a small dispute of a survey. Now you see how these type of issues are boiling in the country. When the Gyanvapi survey was being conducted, Anand, you and me, we were both witness when one particular lawyer came out and he said, Baba mil gaye. And what was that Baba all about? It was all about a fountain which is a disputed. Some people call it a shivling, some people call it a fountain. But these disputes are bound to be there. Even in the leaked survey report of the Sambal mosque, people were saying that the flowers or characteristics to a mosque, to a temple were found inside the mosque.
Correct.
It is debatable, it is disputable. I am not going into the pros and cons of what the survey team found out here. But my basic question, and why I am very much proud of my Congress party, is that it has brought an act in 1991. 30 years down the line, we are still standing up for the fraternity, equality and religious freedom within the country by supporting this act, but not by denouncing that
Kamruji,
act.
may I ask may I make two observations, or
Sure,
one
sure,
observation
sure.
and one question. One is, sir, the Sambhal Harihar temple and Gyanvapi both come under the ASI. So they are heritage monuments which do not fall under the ambit of the Places of Worship Act 1991. That's just one observation. But despite that, look what happened and who came out with sticks and stones. So is respect for faith, religious freedom only a one-way street? What about Hindu astha? That doesn't matter. Hindu sentiment does not matter in this country. Once a temple, always a temple is what the courts have also said, and that the deity has living rights. And the tenets of Islam very clearly say that you cannot have a place of prayer or ibadat for your faith over the ruins or the remains of the place of ibadat or prayer of another place, another religion. That's the tenets of Islam. My point is, sir, then who is creating rebel? Who is the one who is denying what both the scriptures and what the law allows? Who is it?
Respond now?
Ji.
Can I respond?
Yeah.
First and foremost, your word of using the word Harihar temple for the Sambal mosque is still in dispute. So I believe you will be very measured in the
So I'm saying Harihar temple as for the Hindus. That's what I'm saying. Jama Masjid for the Muslims.
So as an anchor, I believe.
So I'm underlining. So you are here to correct me, but tell me, what about those who are not willing to accept the tenets of Islam? That you cannot do ibadat or prayer on a place that's been built on the ruins and remains of another place of worship.
Till the time the
What about those who are denying the fact that Gyanvapi and also the Harihar complex, both of them in Sambhal, are ASI monuments?
Wait. Now, what does the ASI Act of 1958 say? That it's a monument protected under the ASI Archaeological Survey of India. If there is already prayers going on, or namaz or ibadat is going on in that temple or in that mosque, then what is the condition of the ASI Act? They are there to just preserve the structure. Even if the ASI monument is declared to be in contravention
but what
to
does
what
the
it
Places
is,
of Worship Act
Now, let me
1991
finish.
say? That ASI monuments don't come under the ambit of the Places of Worship Act 1991.
No, it never
Yeah, they
said.
don't.
The religious, till the time ASI monument is
They
there,
don't. They don't. And what
that's
is
where
somebody
the
saying? Is
interpretation
somebody?
wrong.
Are you
That's where
denying?
the
Are you
interpretation
saying?
of the
No,
ASI
are you
Act in relation
saying
to the
that people
POW
cannot?
is wrong.
I am asking you, Kamru Chaudhary, what about the religious freedom and the right to pray of Hindus?
No, wait.
That's
Let me finish.
Where
one
is the
point
answer
by
to
point.
that?
No, let me finish point by point.
Ji.
When you bring in the ASI Act of 1958, in conjunction with the POW 1991, what does it say? The religious character of a particular place as it existed on 1947 shall continue without anybody interfering.
Correct. So
now
what
come
is
to
it?
the second point of 1958 of the ASI Act. The monument that is there, which has acquired a religious character as per 1991, shall also be maintained.
Correct. No, so what
Now
have the
you
course
cannot
also
change
appoint
the
on the
ASI monument,
on
you
the
cannot
aspect
change
of
the
religious character, Kamru
Then why the
Chaudhary,
dispute?
that the original religious character? They have not
No,
said.
no.
They have said the original religious character. What is the
No, no.
original?
Now who defines
and
what
today,
is an
no, and
original?
today, Kamru Chaudhary. Today, Kamru Chaudhary.
who defines
One minute,
what is
one
an
minute, sir.
original character?
This is my final question, and then Anand Ranganathan. Kamru Chaudhary, if today Muslims, knowing fully well that this is a place that's been built over the ruins of a Hindu temple, go there and continue to offer prayer, which is actually not prescribed in their own religious scriptures, what are they showing in 2024?
No,
Are they not reflecting the same mindset of those who came and destroyed it? Or are they described, are they depicting a very friendly mindset? Oh yeah, somebody broke that place, built a mosque. I'm not supposed to pray here as per as my scriptures, but I will do it because this is what will keep reminding you that I ruled this place once.
Anand, can I have a 30-second timeline? Let me just cite you an example of Taj Mahal. Just the other day, I was hearing an interview in your channel about Advocate Vishnu Jain, where he was telling very eloquently about how Taj Mahal is a Tejomala or a temple like that. The arguments in that interview which I saw is basically very ridiculous and
Taj Mahal
arguments.
currently, sir, is a mausoleum. The Hindus believe it was a place of worship. It was a temple well already built. It was gifted to the Mughal king. That's a different matter.
So where's the history coming in from?
You have very clearly not
Anand,
answered
how did you
my
get that
simple
piece
question
of
to you,
history?
Mr. Kamru Chaudhary, and this is a question nobody tends to answer when I ask this question. If you know as per the scriptures, and this is again I'm citing a court judgment. The Ram Mandir judgment itself said that this is what the scriptures define as far as what is a place of worship in terms of the tenets of Islam. Any structure that's built over another structure or the faith, structure of another faith is not deemed a place of prayer because there are conditions how a place of prayer shall be brought. There is no concept of worship in Islam, it's only prayer. So that both are two different angles altogether. But despite this question has not been answered. Dr. Ranganathan, is it an unfair question to ask?
Anand, I hope you, and I'm sure you will, in interest of equanimity, give as much time to me as you have given to my good friend Kamruji. First of all, I don't know what it is in the people who are no longer Hindus but whose ancestors were Hindus to have so much contempt for Hinduism. Maybe it is the requirement for the new faiths that they have started professing. Now, the most sacred of Hindu gods, Krishna, Janamsthan, believed to have been birthed there. The idols were snatched away by Aurangzeb, broken, scattered on the steps of Jahanara Mosque so that Namazis could trod on them as they walked inside. Is that not humiliation? What kind of fraternity is Kamru talking of when 1 billion of his so-called brothers are facing this daily humiliation? I'll tell you what kind of fraternity. The same kind of fraternity that he will, today on your channel, you ask him, he will deny that Aurangzeb demolished Kashi Vishwanath to build Gyan Vyapi. Ask him. He has already denied Harihar temple. He is going to deny that Aurangzeb ever demolished the most sacred of Hindu temples and built a mosque. Ask him. Ask him.
No, my point is, sir, it is called Gyan Vapi. That means a well of knowledge. There is no concept. There is no concept as Gyan Vapi in Islam. So it derives its name from something which existed much before that. But that's again, I'm just saying. If
please ask him. People like Kamru are the ones who.
But let's get back to the places of. Let's get back to the Places of Worship Act 1991. Do you believe the Places of Worship Act protects archaeological those monuments that are under the ASI? Does this aspect of religious character, original religious character, not find its place in the Places of Worship Act 1991? Has that not reflected in subsequent judgments, including the RJB judgment?
Look, first of all, the Places of Worship Act is a draconian evil act. So for one to say that, is it just in parts, that itself is a non sequitur. But I'll just say this, it has an exception. And I quoted that exception of the Amara Act 1958. All those monuments that fall under that are not contained or not governed by the Places of Worship Act. Like, for example, Gyan Vyapi. Like, now, Kamruji, I don't know whether he's a lawyer or not, but established lawyers, you read the Places of Worship Act, there are exceptions that are quoted in that. Now, I quoted the exception. I don't know what more one can do, but as I said, when one's mind is made to be bigoted, to hate Hindus, there is nothing that can be done by this community and people like Kamru. The government has to stand up. Stop being a coward. Stop listening to such nonsense. Start acting for justice for 1 billion people. All we want is justice.
I'm saying, why the government? Now, the people who are questioning this, who have challenged this, they have gone to the court of law. If getting a court order and then getting something done legally is going to be met with sticks and stones and threats of riot and communal disharmony, Kamru Chaudhary, then who's the one who's denying secularism? Who's the one who's denying Hindus their rights despite getting orders from courts? Who's the one who's turning around and saying, this may not be the right place for, or this may have been demolished in the past, but I'm not going to give back what was originally yours?
No, Anand, basically you must understand, like just coming to your question, I just want to remind Mr. Anandji out here that Anandji, when you are confronted with facts, please do not try to abuse me, because you need to have some solid facts. I am not speaking, I did not come here to speak nonsense.
You don't talk about facts.
You might have your line of thought, I am having my own line
that's
of
why you
thought.
asked this man. He is completely devoid. That's why he's in
Congress.
Congress.
I think we can have. We can have. No, the idea is not to get personal with anybody.
He abuses people.
The idea
left
is
and
to
right,
ask,
he has no substance.
The idea and the intention, very clearly, gentlemen, is to ask some straightforward questions to everyone.
And nobody. That is why.
When court orders were being implemented in Sambal, who took sticks and stones, and who mobilized a mob to deny the process of legal procedure to take place? Was this not an elected representative who threatened, who was not even permitted to be inside the complex at that point in time?
No.
And did he not get there? Did he not go violative of the Court Act? So who did not respect the courts there? What mindset was depicted there?
Can I reply to that?
So who is threatening communal disharmony? Who is threatening violence? Who's threatening mobs on the streets? And who's threatening that dekh lijiye khoon kharaba ho jayega? Why? So sane debate, sane debate cannot happen. Sane debate cannot happen. Gentlemen, I have paucity of time, but we will take this forward as the matters unfold in the court of law. Thank you very much. We're going to take a very short break quickly, and when we come back, we'll focus on perhaps the biggest confluence of humanity. The what, the how, and the wow. That's what we're calling about the Maha Kumbh 2025. Stay with us.
सैफ अली खान के घर के बाहर हूँ और यहाँ पे जो है ये गेट से अंदर गया होगा ऐसा पुलिस का अनुमान है, क्योंकि ये गेट की जो हाइट है काफ़ी कम है। आप देखिए कि सीधा जो है बेसमेंट में जाता है और बेसमेंट में रात के टाइम में जो है यहाँ पर कोई भी प्राइवेट सिक्योरिटी गार्ड मौजूद नहीं रहता, इसी का फ़ायदा उठाया है। हालांकि पुलिस का ये कहना है कि जिसने भी चोर जो अंदर घुसा था वो सैफ अली खान के घर का चप्पा चप्पा जानता था। अब एक्सक्लूसिव वीडियो देखिए कि बिल्डिंग में जो है मुंबई पुलिस की टीम जो है छानबीन कर रही है। आप देखिए एक्सक्लूसिव वीडियो आप अपने स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं, जिसमें हर चप्पा चप्पा बिल्डिंग का जो है मुंबई पुलिस छानबीन कर रही है और सैफ अली खान के घर में मौजूद सभी नौकर जो थे उनकी पूछताछ फिलहाल चल रही है। साथ में वो नौकरानी जिसने सबसे पहली बार चोर को देखा था उसका भी स्टेटमेंट मुंबई पुलिस ने लिया है। मुंबई पुलिस और क्राइम ब्रांच की टीम जो है आप यहाँ पर देखिए, पुलिस अंदाज़ा लगा रही है कि चोर कैसे घुसा होगा, क्या वो पीछे के रास्ते से ऊपर की तरफ गया है या नहीं। आप देखिए एक्सक्लूसिव वीडियो अपने स्क्रीन पर देख सकते हैं, जिसमें मुंबई पुलिस की टीम जो है इस बिल्डिंग का चप्पा चप्पा छान रही है। साथ में ही जो सीसीटीवी बिल्डिंग में करीब 24 सीसीटीवी है उसकी भी छानबीन जो है मुंबई पुलिस ने की है। हालांकि जांच में अभी तक पता उनको नहीं लग पाया है कि चोर एग्जैक्टली कहां से अंदर घुसा था और कहां से वो भागने में कामयाब हुआ। मुंबई पुलिस की टीम जो है यहां पर पूरे डॉग स्क्वाड के साथ में पहुंची है। डॉग स्क्वाड ने भी घर के अंदर का मुआवजा किया है। साथ में ही मुंबई पुलिस ने इस वक्त जो है 3 लोगों की पूछताछ कर चुकी है, क्योंकि सैफ के घर में करीब 8 नौकर दिन रात काम करते हैं, उसमें से 3 लोगों का स्टेटमेंट जो है मुंबई पुलिस ने लिया है। हालांकि पुलिस को अब अभी तक ये पता नहीं लगा है कि चोर जो है भागकर कहाँ गया। इसके बाजू में ही मैं आपको दिखाऊंगी कि यहाँ पर जो है ये जो बिल्डिंग है उसके बाजू में ही एक प्राइवेट बंगलो है। ये प्राइवेट बंगलो की ऊंचाई भी जो है काफ़ी छोटी सी है और ये दरवाज़ा जो है इस घर का जो नाम है पेटफीना नाम है, पीटर फर्नांडिस नाम के बंदे का ये घर है जो यहाँ पर रहते हैं। अब से कुछ देर पहले हमने उनसे बात की थी। ये जो गेट है ये गेट से अंदर की तरफ जाते हैं और ये रास्ता जो है पूरा सैफ अली खान की जो बिल्डिंग है वहाँ पे कनेक्ट करता है। मैं आपको अंदर लेके जाऊँगी और दिखाऊँगी कि कैसे आप देखिए कि ये रास्ता जो है ये दीवार जो है वो सैफ अली खान के बिल्डिंग की है। पुलिस को ये भी अंदाज़ा है कि शायद चोर यहाँ से भागकर इस बिल्डिंग में गया होगा। मुंबई पुलिस की टीम जो है यहाँ पर भी आई है, छानबीन की है और ये बंगलो ठीक बाजू में है, सैफ अली खान की बिल्डिंग के बाजू में 12वीं मंजिल पर जो है सैफ अली खान रहते हैं। हालांकि ये जो बिल्डिंग है वहाँ पर सिर्फ 6 परिवार ही रहते हैं। जी हाँ, सिर्फ 6 परिवार ही रहते हैं क्योंकि 12 मंजिल के बिल्डिंग में डुप्लेक्स फ्लैट है। सैफ अली खान का भी डुप्लेक्स फ्लैट है। सिर्फ 6 परिवार के लोग ही जो है इस पूरे बिल्डिंग में रहते हैं। उनकी भी पूछताछ जो है पुलिस कर रही है। पुलिस को अंदाज़ा यही है कि जो भी चोर अंदर घुसा था उसको पूरा पता था कि बिल्डिंग में कहाँ से जाना है, कहाँ से निकलना है, कहाँ कहाँ सीसीटीवी लगा है, वो भी इस चोर को पता था। यानी पुलिस का ये मानना है कि जो भी अंदर घुसा था, जिसने सैफ अली खान के ऊपर चाकू से 6 वार किए हैं, उसको पूरा पता था। हो सकता है कि सैफ अली खान का पुराना नौकर भी हो। सैफ अली खान जो है पिछले 5 साल से इसी बिल्डिंग में रहते हैं और 12वीं मंजिल के ऊपर जो है उनका घर है। इस पूरे बिल्डिंग में जो है करीब 6 परिवार ही रहते हैं क्योंकि सभी के जो फ्लैट है वो डुप्लेक्स फ्लैट है। रात को करीब 2 से 3 बजे के बीच में एक चोर सैफ अली खान के घर में घुस गया था और उसके बाद में जब उसकी नौकरानी ने देखा कोई अनजान शख्स को, उसने चिल्लाना शुरू किया। सैफ अली खान रूम से बाहर आए और उन्होंने, जो चोर था उसने 6 चाकू से वार किया है। इस वक्त आप देखें कि मुंबई पुलिस की टीम जो है यहाँ मौजूद है। पुलिस का मानना है कि बेसमेंट के एरिया से जो है शायद चोर अंदर घुसा होगा क्योंकि पुलिस का ये भी मानना है कि बेसमेंट से ही गया होगा क्योंकि बेसमेंट में जो है रात के समय में कोई भी सिक्योरिटी गार्ड वहाँ मौजूद नहीं रहता है और साथ में यहाँ बाजू में भी जो एक बंगलो है जिसकी भी हाइट जो है काफ़ी कम है। पुलिस का ये भी अंदेशा है कि चोर जो है इसी बंगलो से भी अंदर गया होगा। हालांकि मुंबई पुलिस जो है फिलहाल सभी उसकी जांच चल रही है कि क्या वहाँ पे हुआ होगा और क्या नहीं हुआ होगा। सभी पहलू की छानबीन जो है फिलहाल यहाँ चल रही है। इस बंगलों के आसपास भी जितने सीसीटीवी थे उसकी छानबीन पुलिस ने यहाँ की है। आप ये बंगलो देखिए। फर्नांडिस परिवार जो है पिछले 60 साल से यहाँ पर रहता है, उनकी भी पूछताछ जो है मुंबई पुलिस ने की है और साथ में जो नौकरानी जिसने सबसे पहले जो है चोर को देखा था उसका भी स्टेटमेंट जो है पुलिस ने लिया है। डॉग स्क्वाड और साथ में एफएसएल की टीम भी जो है यहाँ पहुँच चुकी है।
इन्वेस्टिगेशन जो है वो शुरू है। सैफ अली खान के ऊपर जो रात में जो हमला हुआ था, जो पर्सन था उसकी तरफ से ये हमला किया गया है। चोरी के लिए वो जो आदमी था वो वहाँ पे पहुँचा गया था और तभी ये इंफॉर्मेशन सामने आ रही है कि तभी सैफ अली खान की जो फैमिली थी वो भी वहाँ पे मौजूद थी और तभी जो अज्ञात पर्सन था उसने सैफ अली खान पे हमला किया और 6 कट्स जो है वो सैफ अली खान के बॉडी पे आ गए हैं। इसके लिए अभी लीलावती हॉस्पिटल
It's a historic time in Prayagraj. The temple town is witnessing the world's biggest confluence of humanity. Millions from across Bharat, across the world are flocking to Prayagraj to be a part of this spiritual spectacle that happens once in 144 years because this is the Maha Kumbh. Over 6 crore have already taken the holy dip and we are just into day 4. The Maha Kumbh Mela, the festival of the sacred pitcher, is found in Sanatan history. It is the world's largest public congregation where millions unite in faith, spirituality and follow this entire ritual of cleansing themselves. Ascetics, saints, sadhus, pilgrims, people from all walks of life, people from various offshoots of Sanatan Pratha, they are all there to seek truth, light and also in the search for moksha and immortality, to break away from this cycle of birth and death. to liberate the Atma, the soul, from this continuous perennial cycle of birth and death. That's what the Kumbh, the confluence of the Ganga, Jamuna and Saraswati at Prayagraj, offers to those spiritually conscious. The Kumbh Mela rotates across 4 sacred locations in Bharat where pilgrims take the dip at the holy rivers and places of confluence for their spiritual renewal, revival and awakening. The astrological significance of the Kumbh celebrations coincide with this unique astrological alignment marking the holiest time in Hinduism, and it happens, this constellation and this happens only once in 144 years. Each site celebration is based on a distinct set of astrological positions of the Sun, the Moon and Jupiter. The celebrations occur at the exact moment when these positions are fully occupied, as it is considered to be the holiest time in Sanatan Pratha. A divine blend of astronomy, astrology and also ritualistic practices make Maha Kumbh a mela, a confluence where rich, profound spiritual experience. Over 12 years, this monumental festival captures the timeless essence of Hindu spirituality and tradition. 4 kinds of Kumbh Mela are celebrated by devotees. The regular Kumbh Mela takes place every 3 years by rotation at the 4 sacred sites of Prayagraj, Haridwar, Nashik and Ujjain. The Ardh Kumbh, that means Ardh or half Kumbh, takes place once in 6 years at Haridwar and at Prayagraj. The name is half Kumbh because it occurs the midpoint of this 12-year cycle of the regular Mela. The Purna Kumbh, that is the complete Kumbh, is celebrated once in 12 years at the 4 sacred sites, and it is believed that the 12-year period is a marker of the planet Jupiter's alignment with the other constellations. The Maha Kumbh is celebrated every 144 years after the completion of 12 Purna Kumbh Melas, and this happens at Prayagraj, becoming one of the rarest events that attracts devotees in large numbers. Saints, seers, all the 13 akhadas, and of course various other spiritual offshoots, they all come here because this is happening in their lifetime. The current Kumbh is being held after 12 years, but seers claim the celestial alignments for this event are taking place after 144 years, making this even far more auspicious because there is the Purna Kumbh and then there is also the Maha Kumbh. David Frawley, author and Vedacharya, with us. Anand Nilakanthan, novelist and columnist, with us. Sriram Balasubramaniam, author of Dharmanomics, an economist and banker himself, with us. And Sadhvi Pragya Bharti, Vedic scholar, also with us. My namaste to everybody. It's a very, very historic occurrence in Bharat. From purely the numbers perspective, for us to be able to host so many people and for them to congregate in one created district in a tent city, for them to come there and to go back spiritually enlightened, awakened and perhaps enriched is amazing. What's the economics behind it? Sriram Balasubramaniam, let's start with there. Is this perhaps the biggest hint of temple economy or dharmanomics?
Thanks, Anand. Good evening and thanks for having me here. Indeed, there are a variety of factors at play. Firstly, we're having 400 million people. It's more than the population of the United States, for example, who are congregated at one particular place over a 45-day period. That itself is a phenomenal, fact, where a variety of economic parameters, food, tourism, infrastructure, all of them come together at a place, which I call the biggest inelastic demand, because no one is looking at what the RBI is talking about. No one is thinking about any other macroeconomic factors. Everything is aligned to this dharmic way of life, which is driving the economic activity in Prayagraj during this time. If you look at the numbers, they're fascinating. I mean, there are about 7,000 crores invested in this event, about 5,000 crores that come from the state government, and 2,000 crores from the central government through a grant. There are a variety of investments that are done. You look at 1.5 lakh toilets, 10,000 changing rooms for pilgrims, 7,500 buses, 3,000 special trains. All of these infrastructure is specifically for this event. So there's a lot of direct economies of scale. And lastly, the estimates of 2.5 lakh crores in terms of the revenue gained from this 45-day period, just to give you some context, it's almost 10% of the entire GDP of Uttar Pradesh for 2023-2024. That is, even if we take lower levels of this estimate, 5 to 10% of the GDP is a huge number. So I think direct implication in terms of economic activity, opportunities, 10 lakh jobs are going to be created, according to CII, is significant. And then, of course, there are indirect economies of scale. We're talking about what happens to all this infrastructure after the Kumbh ends, right? It's not like they're just going to disappear. But a lot of this infrastructure is going to benefit the people of the state, the people of the community, on the support infrastructure that comes through. I think that's a very important point that one needs to be aware of. And lastly, I think from a political economy point of view, it's very important to understand that, we are having this in a 45-day period. So there's a time-bound response by the bureaucracy and the government, which means they need to arrange everything in a time-bound manner. And it ensures that there's greater efficiency of infrastructure development because there's a target. You have to ensure that it happens before and during this time and accommodating such large sections of people. So I think the economies of scale, both at the indirect level and direct level, both for now as well as how this infrastructure sort of benefits the state and the community as a whole, is a very important, factor that people need to, take into account. And this is the biggest example of the dharmic way of life producing economies of scale. So policies aligned to this dharmic way of life, which I've argued in my books, I think it helps us to expand the economic potential far more and in a far more effective manner. So the scale is huge. The economics of it is also equally huge.
So you top up your soul, but also along with that, you also top up your pockets. So that it works both ways from a very dharmic way of life or the dharmanomics point of view. But this is all temporary arrangements. This is all floodplain areas, ecologically sensitive areas, and that's why you cannot have permanent structures in any of these places. So they come up, they're brought down, and then they put them back again. And that's why it's also now deemed a district. Pandit Vamdev Shastri, what's the spiritual significance of what we are witnessing? How important is this 1 year into the Pran Pratishtha of Ramlala, the awakening, cultural awakening of Bharat? Is this a huge signal in that direction?
This is probably the greatest spiritual gathering and celebration that the world has seen to date. Of course, the population of India is more, but there are also people from all over the world. So it is a planetary-wide event and influence. Now, coming 1 year after the Ram Janmabhoomi inauguration, it is also marking a new era, karmically, astrologically, and spiritually for India, and for all of those who follow the Hinduism Sanatana Dharma. So we must recognize that we are witnessing a centuries event for humanity, a new India, the possibility of a new humanity, and a very good and wonderful example for the coming century. You see right now there are so many conflicts in the world, so many divisions. People aren't coming together except to protest, it seems. Now we have a celebration of something transcendent, divine, ancient. The yogis are here, Naga sadhus, the devatas are present. You can enter into a higher dimension of consciousness. So this is a wonderful event for all, and it needs to be taken at the level of the heart, the level of the higher consciousness, and shared with all humanity. It is not simply a mundane event. It is an opportunity for transcendence for all humanity, for the planet, and for a renewal of the earth and humanity for a greater age, not simply of science and technology, but consciousness and spirituality. And it brings that peace, shanti, and cosmic harmony for all, and brings the devas back to our afflicted world, you might say, so that we can again erase and awaken the divine consciousness within each and all, and also see that everywhere on earth throughout the entire universe. Hari Om.
Beautifully said. Science and spirituality coming together. Is there substance in our, or is this a testament that our own ancient wisdom, the Indic knowledge, as many would say, Anandji, is something that we need to cherish? Is this going to rekindle that? Or was it already there? It's just that it's manifest more now.
Thank you. Actually, this is an example of how Hinduism reinvents itself, rejuvenates itself every time. We find that this is one belief system having so many paths, so many rivers that flow into the sea. There are so many paths of knowing the truth. It's a quest. The Hinduism is a spiritual quest. What we call now as Hinduism or Sanatan is a confluence of lot of beliefs, and as Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, all paths leads to me, that is Krishna or the Supreme Consciousness. So many paths will lead, and the Kumbh is an example of that. So many akhadas participate, all the caste barriers break down, all the regional barriers, language barriers, everything is breaking down, and people come to these tirthas, and Prayagraj is the king of tirthas. Everyone coming here together as one humanity, coming here and orienting themselves. That is what the Kumbh Mela is. What is immortality? This is how a society, a culture, a civilization become immortal. It reinvents again and again. It is said that one of the belief systems is that Adi Shankara had, even though there are references of Kumbh Mela much before that, even from the Vedic times, it is said that Adi Shankara had made it so organized, like his establishment of other months, so that different streams of thoughts which were at sometimes having a lot of arguments, debates, and even conflicts with each other, they all came together and reminded the people that all paths lead to the same truth.
Yeah.
Now
Akashat patitam toyam yatha gacchati sagaram. Sarvadeva
Exactly.
namaskaram keshavam pratigacchati. But in this case, how does the Mahadev aspect come in, Sadhviji? And if he were to look at this, is there a ritual to be followed? Is just taking one dip enough? Or are devotees, bhaktas, expected to stay on, spend a few days there? Or is there a definition, or does that also change based on which shoot of Sanatan one follows?
First of all, Anand, I would say heartiest congratulations to all of us for witnessing two monumental events in our lifetime.
Indeed.
Events that reaffirm the strength of our faith and the richness of our spiritual heritage. The inauguration and now finally completion of 1 year of magnificent Ram Mandir in Ayodhya is not just the realization of a cherished dream, but also a beacon of Lord Ram's eternal values of dharma, truth, and compassion. It stands tall as a symbol of a collective devotion and cultural pride. And at the same time, the Maha Kumbh in Prayagraj, the grand confluence of spirituality and divinity, brings together millions from across the world to celebrate the timeless traditions of Sanatan Dharma. This sacred gathering reminds us of the enduring power of faith and the profound connection between humanity and the divine. And to witness these two extraordinary events in the same era is nothing short of a divine blessing. Let us cherish this rare privilege, I would say, deepen our spiritual resolve, and take inspiration from these milestones to walk the path of righteousness, unity, and devotion. And now, talking about Maha Kumbh 2025, like you asked me about the holy dip. So I would say Maha Kumbh 2025 is not just a religious event. It is a symbol of Indian culture, spirituality, and the core values of life. This grand festival offers an opportunity not only for the purification of the soul, but also for the world to understand India's spiritual heritage and cultural richness, Like you said, how many times we should take holy dip, like maybe we should go to all the snans that are being organized there. Even if you go once and take one holy dip, it is more than enough, because it is a union of dharma and karma. Maha Kumbh teaches us that the ultimate purpose of human life is not merely material pleasures, but the upliftment of the soul and attaining salvation. Like Anand, you beautifully started with the introduction of Maha Kumbh. You said, like, this is the time wherein the devotees, they want to cleanse the soul. And it also gives the message of service. So Maha Kumbh emphasizes the importance of serving others, charity and selflessness, which are the core principles of Sanatan Dharma. So it also, I would say, delivers the message of unity and brotherhood. People from diverse cultures, caste, creed, languages, and traditions come together, spreading the message of love and harmony. So Maha Kumbh 2025, specifically this one, which is coming after 144 year, and we are blessed to witness this, in our lifetime.
True.
And I would say this will redefine the meaning of spirituality and will bring new avenues to our country also in terms of spiritual tourism and economic growth as well.
We see that, Sriram Balasubramaniam, cultural tourism has overshadowed, leisure tourism destinations in our country in the last 3 or 4 years. So is this a revival of temple economy? Can we look at tailor-making policies on similar lines? Because we talked about the costs that are involved, but this is also a huge revenue generator. It's also a huge income generator.
Of course, I think that has been, one of my arguments, I think, in general through my books. And this is the biggest example of that, right? We spoke about infrastructure, right? Infrastructure, I'm not talking about just the infrastructure at the venue. That is, replaceable because, you erect these tents and then they go after some time. But the entire support infrastructure, how do you reach Prayagraj, right? Through, say, the airport infrastructure, the rail infrastructure, the entire tourism ecosystem, which is created, all the facilities that they are created because of this. All of these things, the support infrastructure, the indirect economies of scale, are likely to be there, for a much longer term. So, which means that, you're looking at time-bound infrastructure development because you have to do it during this time, and this improves the efficiency of scale. So I think you make a very valid point. If we are able to align policy, because this is essentially the dharmic way of life, which has been there for thousands of years, and other factors don't really influence this. No matter what happens, people still will come to the Maha Kumbh or the Kumbh Mela, say, every 2-3 years or every 12 years, for example, right? No matter what external circumstances are. So I think that's a great opportunity because you're having large sections of people in one particular area. So if policymakers can bring about policy, let's take, for example, Swachhata, right? The entire cleanliness movement. Imagine you constructing a huge Swachhata, scheme to expand and use this opportunity of large sections of people in one particular area. Then it makes your policy making far more effective because you are aligned to the way of life, not the other way around, where policy is isolated from the way of life. Because the way of life is going to win, by the way, because it's been there for thousands of years. And it's a natural sequence of sustainable, eternal living. So it would be wiser and far more effective if policymakers could align their policies towards this and expand these economies of scale. These are great opportunity to expand the economies of scale, grow the economic pie, using these sort of huge events, which can help us to enhance not just the spiritual and coefficient, but also the economic coefficient as well.
Those who are into the recycling business, reduce, reuse, recycling, waste management, big lessons here, and if they can come in, it's also a huge commercial opportunity for them. Those who are using holy waste in terms of the flowers that are there, taking them, recycling them, making agarbattis, and other products out of it, incense products, driven products out of it. It's a huge opportunity for them, those kind of entrepreneurs, also to collect and to ensure that there is no huge trail of waste, debris, and that's left once these devotees leave these destinations. And same thing, we can take this, it can all be under the entire Swachhata policy and educating people that take some of these values back to where you are coming from and implement them in those core areas.
And this time around, just to add to your point, this time around, the entire technological revolution, right? There is AI-generated systems, there are drones, there are a variety of these tech startups.
Yeah, UPI,
The
QR
entire
coded
startup
ticketing systems. Yeah.
the startup
Identification
entrepreneurial ecosystem, which is using these economies of scale to sort of really expand their message, expand their audience. So there are a variety of opportunities if we sort of view this through this prism.
Yeah, so truly science meets spirituality, but from the Chetana aspect of it, more than nearly twice the turnout from 2019. 2021 was post-COVID, but Pandit Vamdev Shastri, what does that symbolify or indicate for Bharat?
Well, we see this great awakening of Bharat. Now, please remember that Bharat is the most ancient civilization in the world, the great Dharmic civilization of the great rishis and yogis. There have been many efforts to conquer it, to control it, to suppress its civilization, to not give it even proper regard in textbooks today. So it is the awakening of this great civilization also, and its global spread. This is a great spiritual symbol at the Maha Kumbh, but the Indian population diaspora is leading a lot of the IT and the technological revolution in the world, the medical healing in the world. India is rising economically. Its global influence in geopolitics is increasing. So this is like the spiritual heart of that great awakening that is going on today. No other ancient civilization has survived. Many have been destroyed and lost their glory. And now we have this wonderful awakening and a seeing of how this ancient rishi civilization is still relevant today. Rishis talk about going beyond time and space. Yogis talk about other worlds, other universes, universal consciousness, the way of the future. So it shows the endurance of India and Bharat as the Vishwa Guru, the guru of humanity. And now all the people are recognizing it and coming together, and we will see more of that in the future, and that should be celebrated and honored. India is not a separative civilization or culture. It is all embracing universal, eternal, Sanatana Dharma, and we can say it's alive, healthy, awake, spiritual, intellectually expressing itself and bringing hundreds of millions of people to the greatest spiritual event of humanity so far.
But Acharya ji, when is the earliest reference of Kumbh? Because many historians try to date it back to only 150, 200, 300 years, talk more about the Mughal period. But is it, how far back? Anand Neelakantan spoke about Adi Shankaracharya trying to use the Kumbh to try and get people again together and various sects, offshoots of Sanatan to work together. But what's the earliest reference?
Well, I will have to say that there's a very important reference in Rig Veda itself. We have the two great rishis, Agastya and Vasishta, who are brothers. Actually, Agastya is the elder brother. And they take birth by divine grace and Mitra and Varuna in the Kumbh. And they say, oh, it just means a pot. No, it doesn't. It means this magical gathering. The water is there. And we have the honoring of the great Saraswati River before the Ganga. This basis of bathing in the rivers is there. Sacred celebrations. There are also references to various astrological events, solstices, equinoxes, and special events. So you can debate about specifically this event in detail, but this tradition and symbolism is inherent in all the Vedic and Bharatiya culture, honoring of the rivers, honoring of the rishis, and taking the bath. It's not just a bath in the water.
Right.
It's a spiritual bath in the divine grace, the flow of the Ananda, and the descent of the divine rivers through the Sahasrara into the spiritual heart from the universe as a whole. And this is a chance at the Maha Kumbh to embody this and experience in our human lives today a great, wonderful transformation for all. Hari Om.
Beautifully put. Anandji, final words. I've got to wind up, but your thoughts, will there be more stories written about Kumbh, the confluence? Will many take back memories and stories with them?
This is the greatest spiritual event, and we are lucky to live in this time because none of us are going to see the next Maha Kumbh. It will happen after 144 years. Apart from that, I think it is time that the government give more importance to the temples, because temples had always been the center of culture, music, art, literature throughout our history, apart from a place of spirituality. The Kumbh, from the Kumbh, how they are managing it so beautifully, the same thing should be extended to the lakhs of temples across India. Many of them are now not in such a good shape, the management of it. I think this experience will help us to rejuvenate all the temples and the temple cultures across India, and which will give birth to more beautiful stories about this continuing civilization.
Lovely, brilliant message to end with. And we got time till the 26th of February. If you've not gone and planned your trip to Prayagraj for the Holy Dip, well, give it a rethink now. We're going to wind up on that note. Thank you very, very much. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.
With that, we call it a wrap on this edition of The Right Stand. Stay with us, Brass Tacks, after the break.
Co-powered by
सैफ अली खान के घर के बाहर और यहाँ पे जो है ये गेट से अंदर गया होगा, ऐसा पुलिस का अनुमान है, क्योंकि ये गेट की जो हाइट है काफ़ी कम है। आप देखिए कि सीधा जो है बेसमेंट में जाता है और बेसमेंट में रात के टाइम में जो है यहाँ पर कोई भी प्राइवेट सिक्योरिटी गार्ड मौजूद नहीं रहता, इसी का फ़ायदा उठाया है। हालांकि पुलिस का ये कहना है कि जिसने भी चोर जो अंदर घुसा था वो सैफ अली खान के घर का चप्पा चप्पा जानता था। अब एक्सक्लूसिव वीडियो देखिए कि बिल्डिंग में जो है मुंबई पुलिस की टीम जो है छानबीन कर रही है। आप देखिए एक्सक्लूसिव वीडियो आप अपने स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं, जिसमें हर चप्पा चप्पा बिल्डिंग का जो है मुंबई पुलिस छानबीन कर रही है और सैफ अली खान के घर में मौजूद सभी नौकर जो थे उनकी पूछताछ फिलहाल चल रही है। साथ में वो नौकरानी जिसने सबसे पहली बार चोर को देखा था उसका भी स्टेटमेंट मुंबई पुलिस ने लिया है। मुंबई पुलिस और क्राइम ब्रांच की टीम जो है, आप यहाँ पर देखिए, पुलिस अंदाज़ा लगा रही है कि चोर कैसे घुसा होगा, क्या वो पीछे के रास्ते से ऊपर की तरफ गया है या नहीं। आप देखिए एक्सक्लूसिव वीडियो अपने स्क्रीन पर देख सकते हैं, जिसमें मुंबई पुलिस की टीम जो है इस बिल्डिंग का चप्पा चप्पा छान रही है। साथ में ही जो सीसीटीवी बिल्डिंग में करीब 24 सीसीटीवी है उसकी भी छानबीन जो है मुंबई पुलिस ने की है। हालांकि जांच में अभी तक पता उनको नहीं लग पाया है कि चोर एग्जैक्टली कहां से अंदर घुसा था और कहां से वो भागने में कामयाब हुआ। मुंबई पुलिस की टीम जो है यहां पर पूरे डॉग स्क्वाड के साथ में पहुंची है। डॉग स्क्वाड ने भी घर के अंदर का मुआवजा किया है। साथ में ही मुंबई पुलिस ने इस वक्त जो है 3 लोगों की पूछताछ कर चुकी है, क्योंकि सैफ के घर में करीब 8 नौकर दिन रात काम करते हैं, उसमें से 3 लोगों का स्टेटमेंट जो है मुंबई पुलिस ने लिया है। हालांकि पुलिस को अभी तक ये पता नहीं लगा है कि चोर जो है भागकर कहाँ गया। इसके बाजू में ही मैं आपको दिखाऊंगी कि यहाँ पर जो है ये जो बिल्डिंग है उसके बाजू में ही एक प्राइवेट बंगलो है। ये प्राइवेट बंगलो की ऊंचाई भी जो है काफ़ी छोटी सी है और ये दरवाज़ा जो है इस घर का जो नाम है पेटफीना नाम है, पीटर फर्नांडिस नाम के बंदे का ये घर है जो यहाँ पर रहते हैं। अब से कुछ देर पहले हमने उनसे बात की थी। ये जो गेट है ये गेट से अंदर की तरफ जाते हैं और ये रास्ता जो है पूरा सैफ अली खान की जो बिल्डिंग है वहाँ पे कनेक्ट करता है। मैं आपको अंदर लेके जाऊंगी और दिखाऊंगी कि कैसे। आप देखिए कि ये रास्ता जो है, ये दीवार जो है वो सैफ अली खान के बिल्डिंग की है। पुलिस को ये भी अंदाज़ा है कि शायद चोर यहाँ से भागकर इस बिल्डिंग में गया होगा। मुंबई पुलिस की टीम जो है यहाँ पर भी आई है, छानबीन की है और ये बंगलो ठीक बाजू में है, सैफ अली खान की बिल्डिंग के बाजू में 12वीं मंजिल पर जो है सैफ अली खान रहते हैं। हालांकि ये जो बिल्डिंग है वहाँ पर सिर्फ 6 परिवार ही रहते हैं। जी हाँ, सिर्फ 6 परिवार ही रहते हैं क्योंकि 12 मंजिल के बिल्डिंग में डुप्लेक्स फ्लैट है। सैफ अली खान का भी डुप्लेक्स फ्लैट है। सिर्फ 6 परिवार के लोग ही जो है इस पूरे बिल्डिंग में रहते हैं। उनकी भी पूछताछ जो है पुलिस कर रही है। पुलिस को अंदाज़ा यही है कि जो भी चोर अंदर घुसा था उसको पूरा पता था कि बिल्डिंग में कहाँ से जाना है, कहाँ से निकलना है, कहाँ कहाँ सीसीटीवी लगा है, वो भी इस चोर को पता था। यानी पुलिस का ये मानना है कि जो भी अंदर घुसा था, जिसने सैफ अली खान के ऊपर चाकू से 6 वार किए हैं, उसको पूरा पता था। हो सकता है कि सैफ अली खान का पुराना नौकर भी हो। सैफ अली खान जो है पिछले 5 साल से इसी बिल्डिंग में रहते हैं और 12वीं मंजिल के ऊपर जो है उनका घर है। इस पूरे बिल्डिंग में जो है करीब 6 परिवार ही रहते हैं क्योंकि सभी के जो फ्लैट है वो डुप्लेक्स फ्लैट है। रात को करीब 2 से 3 बजे के बीच में एक चोर सैफ अली खान के घर में घुस गया था और उसके बाद में जब उसकी नौकरानी ने देखा कोई अनजान शख्स को, उसने चिल्लाना शुरू किया। सैफ अली खान रूम से बाहर आए और उन्होंने जो चोर था उस
Laminates presents CNN News 18 Primetime Studio.
Good evening, you're watching Brass Tacks with me, Zaka Jacob. We're coming to you live from the CNN News 18 Primetime Studio presented by Green Lamb Laminates. Bollywood star Saif Ali Khan was assaulted in his Bandra residence late last night. The attacker stabbed him as many as 6 times. One of the attacks was very close to his spine. Doctors at the Leelavati hospital where he was admitted had operated upon him. He's said to be stable right now, but in the ICU. But his condition was so bad that one portion of the knife, the attack weapon that the assailant used, was stuck inside Saif's body, and that's what the doctors had to operate upon. The police say it's one lone assailant. They've managed to capture this brief 5-second video of him walking down the fire exit, walking down the stairs from the floor where Saif stays, which is the 12th floor in his apartment complex. The cops right now are saying the motive was burglary and nothing more. Like I said, they've released this very brief 5-6 second video of the assailant walking down the steps after the stabbing incident, trying to make his escape. Now, the question is, and really there are many, many unanswered questions. How did this attacker, and if it's a lone wolf, then all the more so, how did he gain entry and exit into and out of the building, and also into and out of Saif's house? If there were no signs of forced entry, as the police say, then did someone from the inside let the assailant in? And most importantly, after this entire scuffle where he stabbed one of India's leading film stars 6 times, how did this man manage to escape despite creating such a huge scuffle inside such a protected house and apartment complex? Many, many unanswered questions. We'll try and answer a few of those, throw some light on a few of those questions through the course of this program. But first, what a dramatic Thursday it's been in the Saif Ali Khan, Kareena Kapoor household.
अभी तक के इन्वेस्टिगेशन में ये एक चोरी का अटेम्प्ट था, ऐसा हमारे इन्वेस्टिगेशन में निष्पन्न हुआ है।
At 2 a.m., he sustained major injury to the thoracic spinal cord due to lodged knife in the spine.
सर्वात सुरक्षित मुंबई आहे, पण केवळ त्या घटनांमुळे मुंबई असुरक्षित आहे असं म्हणणं हे याकरता योग्य होणार नाही की याने मुंबईची प्रतिमा देखील खराब होते।
So is there more to it than meets the eye? Here's the exact sequence of events. This is what happened in the middle of the night at Saif Ali Khan's residence. At 2 a.m., Saif Ali Khan was at home with his 2 sons, Taimur and Jay. His wife, Kareena Kapoor, was not at home at that particular time. She was out with friends. The house help, one of them, and I believe there are 7 of them at any given point of time on the floor where the Khans live, one of them discovers an unknown person, confronts that intruder. Saif then wakes up because there's a commotion that's happening between the caretaker and this intruder. Because of the noise, he wakes up and then he tries to intervene to break up this ongoing scuffle. So between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m., Saif Ali Khan then is attacked with a sharp weapon by this intruder. It's a lone intruder. Whether or not he had accomplices, so far the cops are saying it's a lone wolf attack. This was right outside one of the rooms of one of his children. And the police are also saying that so far the only motive that seems to be the only one that they are looking at is a burglary attempt. Saif Ali Khan is stabbed not once, not twice, but 6 times, including 2 very deep wounds, one of which is very close to his spine, and that is a very risky operation that the doctors at the Lilavati hospital had to perform. He was rushed there to the Lilavati hospital at about 3:30 in the morning. Saif Ali Khan is brought to the Lilavati hospital. A piece, almost 2.5 inches long, of the assault weapon is lodged inside his body, close to his spine, and that's what the doctors had to operate him for and retrieve that part from out of his body. Now, the Mumbai police are investigating this case. The forensic teams have been present at the residence since the morning when this initially came to light. The initial probe has thrown up some leads. Now, the lead one is that the attacker had access to Saif's residence all night. In fact, he was already inside the house even before they had called it a night. The second lead is that the attacker and one of the house helps, there seems to be a link, because the cops are saying there is no visible sign of forced entry, which means somebody from the inside opened the house to the attacker. The third lead is that the attacker entered the building through the back gate and then escaped via the fire exit. Now, the lift and the lobby areas are usually well guarded. You need biometrics to enter and exit and so on. But the fire escape and the back gate, where security seems to have been lax, that's what the attacker seems to have used to gain entry and exit out of the building. The prime focus of the investigation right now, and the only motive they seem to be probing right now, is the angle of theft or burglary. There's also the fact that the police are saying that they have identified the suspect. They've released that CCTV footage. They have seen his face, his features. They even know who he is. There are as many as 15 police teams that are on the lookout for this man, this attacker, and they believe that he's very much in Mumbai after what happened in the early morning hours today. There was also some floor polishing work that was happening in the building on the same floor as well as in other floors, some of whom have been detained for quizzing. Now, this high-profile attack, it has raised many questions. In fact, more questions than possibly answers. Number one, this is a highly guarded, highly protected building. You need biometrics to access entry and exit from this building. How did the assailant gain access both to the building and to the residence? If there was no forced entry, did any of Saif Ali Khan's household helps help the intruder? How did the assailant enter and escape without any scrutiny, either at the building lobby or at the gates? If the building had biometric security systems at the lobby, at the lifts, then how did the intruder manage to escape all of these security systems? Was the assailant hiding hours before the assault began? Because early morning we got this word from the police that up to 2 hours prior to 2 a.m., when this assault happened between 2 and 3 a.m., up to 2 hours before that, that is from midnight on, they looked at the CCTV footage and they found no traces of this man. The only CCTV footage that they have found so far and released is what you're seeing on your screen right now, which is exactly at 2:33 a.m., roughly a few minutes after this incident happened at around 2:30 in the morning. So let's try and find answers to some of those questions. I want to go across to Mr. P.K. Jain. He's former additional DGP of Maharashtra. Thank you very much, Mr. Jain, for speaking with us. I think the most basic and most perplexing question that everybody wants an answer to is, how did this attacker gain entry and exit both into the building and into Saif's house without anybody noticing?
Zaka, thank you very much for inviting me here. See, this is a major security lapse in the building itself. Apparently, there was a security setup. This is a very, hi-fi kind of a building. To my mind,